Hello and welcome, Exiles. At that time of the league again, we just got the announcement for Necropolis, and in preparation, I am Leaguestart testing a Firetrap of Blasting in combination with the Explosive Trap of Shrapnel for the Saboteur, or if you like, you could probably go a Trickster, you could even go an Inquisitor. There's options. Now, specifically, I went with Saboteur for basically mainly one reason, and that was to have a lot of AoE. Because this ascendancy comes with, on pretty much every small node, it comes with AoE. You'll notice AoE, 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 and a big node that has, you guessed it, AoE. Now, why do I want so much area effect on this specific skill? And there's really only one reason. The skill's totally bugged in terms of its visual. Now, you'll see here, it's a big radius, right? You see the big radius when it blows up. What happens when we lose a specific amount of area effect? We'll just take away some of the AoE we have. We also have AoE on the tree here and here, so it's not all of our AoE investment, but you'll notice it goes from that very large explosion to a much smaller infinitesimal explosion. Now, this is a visual bug. It's not actually as small as it looks. We'll go ahead and test it on a monster here and there, see what it looks like. Now, you'll see it blows up here, but it hit enemies all the way over here, right? It's clearly bigger than what it showed, but visually bugged. Now, that being said, even if you have all these AoE nodes and you hit the breakpoint where the AoE starts to start visually showing up, well, you take away the MTX and it actually never shows up. So even more sad if you don't have the MTX, and quite frankly, it's something I hope they fix, but you'll see the AoE of these things. You'll see how you blow them up, and they do look quite small. Like, the explosion looks pathetic. Officially, when I was looking at trap skills to playtest, because I wanted to do some playtesting, you'll see the traps blow up and it blow up here and that hit the enemy there. It's much farther away. Officially, when I wanted to check out trap characters, I looked at this skill and I said, that skill has insane damage. But the second I tried it in game, I threw it on the ground just to see what it looked like, and its AoE looked pathetic. I wrote it off entirely. It wasn't until I saw Palstron's video where he said, hey, it's just a bug, you just need to get 3.0 meters to use it. And I said, you know what, let me try a run with it. That being said, it was not just 3 meter breakpoint, it was 3 meter breakpoint, and you have to use the MTX. Without the MTX, you never see the visual. It's just a visual bug, though. It works without the visual. Blah, 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 blah. Point is, hopefully they patch this. But that being said, even if they do not patch the visual, this skill's damage is just absolutely insane, and that is for one very specific reason. Well, technically two. First of all, that flat damage that is added against burning enemies, that is multiplied by the effectiveness of the added damage, which means it hits really freaking hard. And number two is it also gets the additional chance to trigger, which is a bunch of damage. Quite frankly, if you look at most of the trap skills, I believe this might be just the highest single target skill because of that flat added damage being applied by the 260 multiplier and the fact that it has that additional trigger. Now, the thing is, though, this kind of sucks for clearing because it requires the enemy to be burning in order for it to deal a good amount of damage. See, it has a flat damage that's 300 to 400. It just doesn't hit very hard initially until that enemy is burning. Like, you have to ignite the enemy first, and then it gets the heavier flat damage, which then makes it just absolutely erase things. Now, that being said, there's a pretty easy solution, and the solution is Explosive Trap of Shrapnel. This skill might be one of the most disgusting AoE skills I've ever seen for a trap. I'll just give you a little showcase of what it looks like when you throw these things down, but there's 3 traps on the ground, and I'm hitting the entire screen. Now, I obviously have invested into a lot of AoE with chain reaction and all the small AoE nodes and the AoE nodes here and the AoE node here, but even still, regardless of that AoE investment, like say I just take off my AoE from Saboteur real quick here. Say I took off that Saboteur AoE, this skill would still be very large. You see, hits a very large area. It also hits pretty freaking hard as well. So what I've come up with, my solution is having a clear setup with Explosive Trap of Shrapnel, and then when we get to a boss, we lay down the big guns, the skill that just hits with just a massive punch, and that's the Firetrap of Blasting, and see how that performs on some bosses. So that's the setup I came with. Outside of that, this character is a evasion, suppress based EB for the mana sustain. along with the regen from the Saboteur Ascendancy and recovery when you trigger a trap. It does pretty well in terms of defense. It has solid amount of evasion investment on the tree, along with without any real gear with suppression. We have 77 suppress with lucky, which is around, I think that's something like 95 or whatever, 94 suppress. I'm not sure exactly. You'd have to do the math. But point is, without too much gearing, it's pretty tanky defensively. It scales well offensively. I never ran into a roadblock that said, okay, we're starting to not deal damage here. It just felt like we had damage all the way through. Now let's go ahead and give a showcase of what this looks like on an Ivory Temple so you can get an idea of what this build feels to play. This is the one T16 map I had in my inventory sitting around. So we'll go ahead and run this one just to give a look at what this looks like while clearing a T16. Granted, we're level 84. We did a push to Eater and Exarch. We just went straight there as fast as we could. We did it in about 9 hours and 30 minutes, which isn't very fast when you talk about like competitive speed running, but I'm not a very fast player. I am decent. I'm getting better, but I'm nowhere near as fast as a lot of the better players, so to speak. You'll see here. It took a while for that ignite to kick in, I guess. So I am using combustion support. And normally, when I hit an enemy with explosive trap, it hits enough times that it will ignite the enemy, and that ignited enemy will then die to Firetrap blasting because it will deal a heavy amount of extra damage. Now, when you don't ignite, then the enemy will last longer because it's not getting that extra flat damage. Essentially, if I get to like a tanky rare, that's the scenario where I'm putting down the Firetrap of blasting, and not close at all. It was completely fine. I was never worried in any instance there. Not doing a great job like showcasing the power level of this, but you have to remember this is a rare T16 on a level 84 character with completely SSF gear. But hopefully it's still giving you a good idea of what this character can do in terms of fighting a lot of things at this level this early on in the campaign. Now, I would do the boss just to give you an idea of what the single target looks like. When we are on a 5-link, it's just kind of the first trash 5-link we found while leveling it. Normally, a lot of times when I do these runs, I don't even get a 5-link by the time I get to Eater and Exarch. I haven't dropped one most of the time. Usually that unlucky, but this time we got a 5-link. It forced us into a bit weaker of a chess piece, so we're losing like some defensive power because it's a bad base and the roll wasn't good per se, but it's good enough to get us there, and I win a complete circle and I still don't know where the boss is. This is really awkward. I don't know the layout of this map well at all. Ivory Tower, is the boss down here? I didn't even know this map could loop like this. I always thought it was like kind of like a straight shot through. Not straight shot, but like, I didn't think it went to loop. I got destroyed by the loop. All right, here we are, the boss fight. Now, that was with 35% monster life. That was a T16, and that might not seem like a lot, but if you've done SSF runs with a straight to T16, we have a level, I believe, like 19 gem, right? Yeah, we have level 19 gem, not fully leveled. We don't have exactly what you would call gear that's giving us damage per se, not really. We got a singularity, which is okay. Technically, as far as the grand scheme of things go, when you're talking about a trap character, this really is just not that good. The flat added spells is pretty diminishing returns when it comes to a Firetrap of blasting, and on top of that, cast speed is not helping to throw a trapping character. You'd much rather have a rare. This is just the best thing I found while doing my SSF run. That being said, damage is still pretty good in my opinion for fighting a T16 boss. I should have kept them closer together, so I was doing damage to them at the same time. I marked the one guy and then started throwing traps to the other. I didn't really play that correctly at all, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, this is a scuffed as could be gear setup with a fairly considerable amount of damage just because of how strong the Firetrap blasting is in terms of single target. Now, as for trappers, as far as they go in terms of power level, I do believe there is an angle for Sunblast with either Explosive Trap of Shrapnel or the Ice Trap of Hollowness as also being solid options as well. If you're looking at a trap Leaguestart, I think those could be pretty insane damage-wise. Probably could do that with Firetrap blasting as well if you have enough radius. The main thing with Sunblast is it will throw the traps out randomly in terms of like spread. And so you need to just have enough AoE that no matter how far the little spread is, it has like some default amount of it spread it has. You can see when I'm throwing traps with cluster traps, it'll look like this. So you don't really need that much AoE and you should be fine with cluster trap. But yeah, anyways, I say all this. Tested out a Saboteur trap run with Firetrap of blasting and explosive trap shrapnel for clear. Works really well. I'm really happy with it. This is something that I'd say if you want to do an all-around starter, a trapper is never a bad choice. It has, number one, can run every map mod. You don't need to care about reflect. You can run reflect. If you have a mana flash, you can run no regen. If you have, for example, no leech, minus res, reduced aura effect, all those things you can run. There's things that are going to make your map build more likely to die. There's dangerous map mods, obviously, but there's nothing that says your build can't do this. And when you're league starting and you're running through a bunch of rares and corrupted maps, etc., you want to be able to take on every map mod possible and not have to reroll a map or not have to just throw away a map because you can't run reflect or whatever it is. And traps get around that pretty nicely. All in all, I did also test this in Sanctum. I believe the damage would probably be strong enough for a early yellow Sanctum tier at this level. I don't think it would be strong enough to just go straight to Sanctum. I think it would be too low single target to just go straight to Sanctum because of how high requirement the damage is needed to be for Sanctum to consistently complete it, and it is a trap. Traps are delayed in how they deal their damage, which means you're going to take a bunch of chip damage to your resolve while doing Sanctum, because you have to throw the trap, and the trap has to activate it, and then it has to hit the enemy. That means the enemy, in terms of like the guards you fight throughout Sanctum, has a time to hit you once, and if they hit you once in the first room, the second room, the third room, the fourth room, the fifth room, the sixth room, you just get chipped down in your resolve, and you have a decent probability to lose the run. Once you have high enough damage, you can start to ignore that, but as far as if you want to take this character and run straight to Sanctum, I don't think it has enough damage to do it, or it's too delayed in that it's a trap skill. I am going to be working towards making his starter specialized at going straight to Sanctum like I did last league, but that's my take on the Firetrap blasting explosive trap character. I liked it a lot. I thought it was very good in terms of its defensive kit, being able to go for the blind DR plus fairly good suppress plus decent recovery. Saboteur offers a pretty nice package. Ultimately, I think this is like, it's great in terms of the AoE for the clear and the feels goodness of it, but ultimately, if you're min-maxing a trapper, I probably would still say just play a Trickster. Trickster can do better in most cases. That's my feeling towards Leaguestart like this. Very strong, well-rounded build. Saboteur does it well. You have big AoE. If you like traps, or you haven't tried out traps, this would be a great starter. I'm probably not going to make more videos on this build specifically, but I'm going to make more videos on a lot of different builds I'm testing out and doing as starter runs just to see how strong they can be. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out.